welcome over the top podcast. It's your boy HD. I'm here with the pound of the guys, the crew tonight. We got Big Ron. How you doing, Ron?
Doing awesome. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good. We got Big Q in the house. How you doing, Q?
Uh, Hoping Duke advances to the next round.
Oh, here we go. Here we go with the Dukes. They didn't advance today, though, did they?
Yes, they did.
They did? I thought they lost today.
They lose
But
today.
anyway, and we also got from our over the top podcast sports edition. We got Bell. How you doing, Bell?
What's going on? How everybody doing this evening?
Wonderful. And
They're playing an hour.
are they playing now?
Oh no, that's one. That's the women's.
Right. And last but not definitely least, guys, we have a guest. The guest tonight, Miss Dee Dee Davis. She's actually a school teacher. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. But one of the topics we're going over tonight, guys, is why is our teachers quitting? And she actually took time of her busy schedule to hang out with us a little bit to give us some insight on teaching. How you doing, Dee Dee?
Hey, I'm good. How's everybody?
Everybody's
We're
good.
great. We're great. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you
Huh?
for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes. We're gonna start with you. Introduce yourself. Let us know how many years you've been teaching and what kind of experience you got going on before we jump in this thing, so people don't think we just picking people off of the street. Let somebody know you got show your
I
credentials.
got some experience.
That's right.
So this is my 22nd year of teaching. I have taught kindergarten through 6th grade. My bachelor's was elementary education. I have a master's in curriculum and instruction.
Okay, great. One of her other accolades she like to share with us from time to time. She is a member of the Delta Sigma Sorority Incorporated. So we definitely give a shout out. No matter you used to teach in Florida, so I don't know what real Ron DeSantis doing. They're trying to ban all Greek side of the university. I don't know what he doing down there, guys. Vote.
Yes, yeah. And I got a daughter that's down there at Florida State, so I'm trying to get her crossed over before he really go crazy.
I know. So what year is your daughter?
This is her junior year.
Junior, good stuff. Before we're gonna jump into it, but Ron, can you run that first clip for us? Kind of get the set the stage a little bit.
Next topic.
Across the country, fed up teachers, many tired of long hours and low pay, are calling it quits. In one Virginia county, they are hoping a $3,000 bonus will keep teachers from leaving the job.
Our teachers work hard, our staff works hard, and they need to be fairly compensated.
But they are down more than 150 teachers. It's a similar story in school districts across the country. New numbers from 8 states show how tough things are getting. Last school year, Maryland and Louisiana saw the highest number of resignations in a decade. In Washington state, it was the highest number in 3 decades.
When everything shut down and COVID kind of took full swing, that was my first year in the classroom.
Angela Tilson resigned from her teaching job in Massachusetts last December.
COVID is still very much affecting the education system. The gaps are striking, and there's only so much that you can do as one person in the overload of work.
It sounds like you reached a real breaking point.
Yes, I did.
Like many, she shared her story online. There are a mix of reasons.
I am not going to miss unreasonable class sizes. I am not going to miss 23-minute lunch breaks.
Children are struggling academically. Teacher shortages mean more work. And then there's the pay.
Today was my last day as a teacher. I'd like to think it's just a pause, but I honestly don't know right now.
In the fall, Sayreville, New Jersey sent out flyers hoping to inspire people to help. 3 retired teachers returned to the job, but the district still has 12 vacancies.
We were starting to experience a little bit of the shortage last year, but it seems that we hit the pinnacle this year.
Did it get worse?
Without a doubt.
The key, educators say, is getting young college students to choose the profession.
Our message to them is you couldn't ask for a more noble field. If you really want to make an impact on this world, this is where it's to be done.
So true. You know, there are a lot of states taking steps to offer more money, including helping teachers pay down those student loans. Some of the COVID rescue plan money can also be used to help school districts. But that assistance is temporary, guys. And what educators say is they need something permanent. They need a permanent solution.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of my favorite teacher. Like every single person knows who their favorite teacher is. And when you see that, it's just heartbreaking to think about
and
it.
they're young people that the profession needs.
Yeah.
And they're walking out the door. The woman that I interviewed had gotten her master's. She had only been doing it for about a year, and she couldn't do it. It was too tough.
Yeah, yeah, and the pay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Steph.
All right, the clip that we showed is pretty much saying how teachers getting burned out, and one of the main reasons our teachers getting burned out because of our kids. You know what, I'm gonna go with Ron for this one. Ron, what do you think of the impact of children's behavior to teacher stress level? What because I know you deal with children and stuff in your field also. What are some of the impacts of children behavior when it comes to the teacher profession?
The teachers and the students haven't really bounced back from COVID. Last year I was in Parkland High School in Winston-Salem, and being in that school was a little different to see that. We were still dealing with COVID. The aspects of what we were dealing with more so than anything else was the engagement of kids. And one of the things that I found that was really like devastating to me is that, man, a lot of kids said they really didn't like people. And that struck me because it was like, one of the main things about schooling is socialization and integration and interaction. And a lot of them essentially stated, man, I don't like people. Yet and still, when they were tasked with, or towards the end of the school year, they chose to come to school instead of being other places at times. So it was really kind of an interesting thing. But a lot of those kids really kind of stood by that. I don't like people. And that mentality was very disruptive in the sense that they weren't able to come to grips with who they were post-COVID.
Okay. Speaking of COVID, I'm gonna go with you, Didi. What was the effect of COVID when you dealing with the teaching profession? How did that throw you back? Did that push you forward? What was the effect on the COVID years?
I mean, I think it was a great mixture of things, right? You know, we had never been faced with the digital age, right? Being thrown into, okay, well, you know, you got to figure out how to teach and get this content across in this new way that we had never done before, and to keep these kids engaged while they were sitting in their house in their house coat with their rags on their head, you know what I'm saying? So that was really difficult. It was a really large learning curve for a lot of us. And then I think now post-COVID, it's like, do we go back to the way we used to be? Because that's been a challenge too, because we live in a digital age. You talk about socialization, they do all the computer stuff. And so I had a hard time with, I honestly don't want to go back to passing out papers because I don't want the booger papers. You know, I'm like, I don't even touch it anymore. And then as we're looking to the future and we're preparing them, it's like, well, should we even be doing that, right? And so now it's trying to find that balance of where we were before COVID, trying to use those strategies and teaching techniques that we had then, and trying to revamp it to modern day teaching of how we, you know, teach the content to kids and keep them engaged in this modern era.
Cool, baby. I'm gonna go with you with this one. What was the parent responsibility during COVID? I mean, because I know a lot of times, you know, parents. I know when I was growing up, when we were in my grandma's house, she wasn't really heavy on us education. She just put us in front of the TV, or put us in front of the stuff that you do on your own. But Belle, what was your thoughts? So, how did the parents react with the students during the COVID years? Did it help them? Was it affected? What you think with yours in school?
Yeah, as far as the parent?
Yeah, as far as the parent.
Just going back, I remember in my kids were in high school, but I just felt as though I became the teacher. I understood, but I felt as though I became the teacher, meaning I had to make sure the work was done. Because, you know, now you got them in homes, there's no excuse for it not to be done. You know, everything that they used before for not doing their work, they were there every day. So now you can see it. And I did understand a lot of the stresses that teachers went through as far as just dealing. I'm dealing with 2 kids compared to dealing with, if you just in one classroom setting with 30 kids. Yeah, I had enough with just dealing with my 2. So I understood that it was a lot for them to deal with.
Okay.
Even when you kick in the behaviors and all.
You start speaking of behavior issues. Whether that is that more on the parent side? Because so we was talking earlier, and we could conversate throughout the week, and we was talking about the kids and behaviors, and now you seeing a lot of your schools putting metal detectors and then with deterrence up to try to cut down on some of those issues. Q, you are actually going into the teaching profession. Um, explain, do you think that those meditators are actually helping, or are they not really effective in the school setting?
So are the metal detectors helping?
The metal detectors and other things. You think they're effective, or
Most kids around the time, they won't know why there's metal detectors there unless their parents tell them what's going on in the news or they pay attention with the news. Most kids, like they aren't aware of why. They say, okay, something bad happened, so now you have metal detectors there. So, and then then the parents probably say, oh, well, that's because this happened, and depending on what type of parents you have, it's either, oh, well, this tragedy happened over there, so now you have to make sure you're protected, or it's, well, these people are trying to take X, Y. Depending on the side parents are voting on, will tell you how kids either will see it or won't see it. And and that will affect the child. But if a parent doesn't teach them or doesn't tell them what's going on, just say, hey, that's something you gotta do now, most kids are just gonna go along with it because they're not gonna question that. They've got other things to worry about, like growing up. They know what COVID is, but they still think, okay, COVID is still happening, unless they got certain parents that say, well, COVID doesn't exist. It's been 3 years, it's still here. That's what it is. So depends on depends on their parent.
okay? Didi, do the metal detectors make you feel more safe as a teacher? Yeah, I
For
know
me,
one of the biggest. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I think for me, I think it would. I mean, I feel like kids, adults now are more prone to hearing about, oh, there was another shooting over here and there's a shooting over there, that is becoming normalized to even, smaller age children. We of course still do those lockdown drills, and we have to practice those more. So when we were growing up, we had fire drills. That was pretty, so I guess tornado drills, but like the lockdowns have to happen more because they happen more in our society. So they know and hear about it, but I would definitely feel more comfortable having a metal detector.
Do you want to pat kids down when they come to class?
Huh? Right, pat down. Yes. And your
You want
mama
that, Mel?
and your mama too before she
Hey,
come in.
Yeah, that's how I would feel. I would feel like I'm standing at my door and I want to pat down all these kids coming in here. And then once I pat down everybody, I'm locking my door. Clear.
Right. Right.
That's kind of ironic, because I want to kind of see how you feel about that. What do we do with those with the heightened danger in the schools? So what do you suggest? I'm gonna go with you, Reverend. What do you suggest need to be done with the heightened dangers and violence in our schools? How can we on the outside affect that issue? Ron?
I'm here, man. My daggone internet is acting a fool. I'm going to say, man, in all true honesty, safety should be a supreme part of what it is that we do. The integration of metal detectors were put into my daughter's school this year, so it's been an interesting process. I live in sleepy Greensboro, yet and still they have major concerns with weapons being brought into the school and issues that transition from the community into the schools. A lot of kids are having so-called beef back and forth on Instagram, and that Instagram beef transitions into the school, which causes a lot of the conflict that take place in these communities. So I'm not opposed to metal detectors being in the school. I think it's having a heightened sense of awareness of safety first and foremost, because I think one of the things that concerns me is that, you know, teachers now, like Miss Alicia, uh, am I saying your name right?
Dee
Dee Dee, Miss Dee Dee. I don't want to mess it up. I'm sorry,
No,
because
you're
I don't like messing people's name up. But they're going through lockdown drills, and they're having aspects of things where they have to really kind of assess safety over educating. Schools used to be a safe place, and they're not anymore. And that's a major concern. And a lot of the problems are coming into the schools, and the teachers as well as the principals are not afforded the opportunity to be equipped to deal with aspects of things.
Right.
There's not any trust in our community. Most of our schools, one of the things that we don't even really realize is that we've gone so far away from neighborhood schools, and people knowing your people, it has crippled the ability for us to hey man, I know your mama. Your mama, you know better than that. You know, and with the mobility of families and communities right now, we're dealing with a crisis of that. It's a crisis of community. It's not the educational component of it so much so. It's a crisis of community because there's no expectations.
I remember in middle school, my vice principal, Miss Curtsy, and everybody knew my father. My father was a minister in the Greenway area, South Carolina area. I don't know my podcast, but when I just show out in class, I would go. I wouldn't get written up sent home, but I'd be sent to her office and she'll sit down and say, "I'm gonna call your daddy." And once that happens, everything kind of ceases. But Dita, I'm gonna come up with you with that. What happened to that type of teaching? Because I know my wife is in the profession, and now you get teachers come in who don't have that sense of connection with the students. What happened to that sense of connection with your students that you can say, look here, because we keep be looking at you straighten up and you go and your word means something versus just send them out to the resources or what I'm saying, send to the principal's office. Where happened to that connection you have with the kids? Is that gone?
Honestly, I feel like it's sad to say, but I feel like it is. I feel like I almost don't have time to make a connection. I teach fourth grade this year. I have 31 kids. And there is a curriculum and a pacing that I have to follow. And it's here and there. We got to take a test, and then you got to be prepared for this benchmark. And then we got to do this state assessment. And then in the middle of that, somebody threw up, somebody got into a fight, and it's so much. And then, they want this data due, and it's just a lot. And I feel like that connection is lost because it is so very overwhelming. You don't have connection with parents because I feel like from a parent aspect and a student aspect, there's no respect for our profession. It's almost kind of like anybody can do it. And I don't know if COVID helped with that when y'all had y'all kids at home, because people say, oh my God, I can't wait for this to be over and I appreciate, and you get all of that, I guess, lip service, but I'm like, dude, like if you really knew what my everyday beginning to end was like with 31 of y'all children. Yeah, so I
They
feel
don't have. They don't have a. They don't have. I mean to cut you off, Didi, but I'm just curious. They don't have a maximum, ratio, student to teacher ratio. at this point, or is that gone by the wayside?
I feel like it's still there, but because we don't have anybody, right? So we're supposed to have 4 teachers for 4th grade, and don't nobody want to do this anymore. You know, you opened up with the clip of so many teachers leaving, and I honestly feel like I'm about to be one, right? But we are short, I want to say, like 8 positions within our one building.
Wow.
So
I did some research, and this is through the Economic Policy Institute project, and they said there's a demand for approximately 300,000 new teachers nationwide.
mhm,
The problem is only a supply of 100,000 teachers.
mhm.
100,000 teachers. I'm gonna go with you this one, Q. Because Q is an education major.
Okay.
Tell the people a little bit about the program you in at Morris, and what's your thoughts about going into the profession. This small brief, Q.
Call Me Mister is a organization I'm in. It's basically just for males, and recently they've added that females can join too, female teachers. Um, it was an organization that was really for African American males to become teachers, for more African American males to become teachers, because not a lot of African American males are teachers. In fact, most kids may go through the entire education system from kindergarten to college and never have a black male teacher. That's basically what that's for. But as far as the issue with uh, can parents connect, teachers connecting to kids, issues with teachers leaving. Well, first, issue with connecting to kids because a lot of teachers grew up without social media, and now social media is skyrocketed to where a lot of kids have social media. So a lot of kids have issues with social media, and that's something a teacher may never know about unless they heard it from another student or heard it from another teacher who they heard it from another student. So there's that's usually you may hear something in a hallway, but now because all kids have phones and social media, you may never hear anything about it until it's too late, and now the kids are already at that point where there's probably no turning back. They want to take action. As far as why teachers are leaving, it's a mix of not enough pay and not in respect. In fact, not enough respect being given to teachers who aren't getting paid enough.
Mhm.
So I know in South Carolina now, they're trying to up the payment for teachers to $50K a year. I think originally they were shooting for 60. I think they're selling on 50, and then they're still arguing back and forth. I don't know how it is with any other state. I just know how it is here. But it's still all the money in the world. You can give teachers all the money in the world, but if the parent nor the students or maybe even higher ups in the school district respect what a teacher does, the teacher's going to leave and do something else because they feel they're not respected enough in their profession.
Well, I'm gonna come with you, and I'm gonna ask the same question to you, Bell. But I'm gonna come with you. 'Cause I want to come with you from a case manager standpoint. How do you see? I mean, I know you deal with children now. How do you see the teacher-student relationship from your eyes, from a counselor or a case management eyes? Is it something that is the behavior issue stem from home, or is this they don't like being in school? What are you seeing?
You said Ron, right?
Yes, it, Ron.
Okay. A lot of it stems from home. A lot of it stems from the ability for teachers to assert and have classroom management. I think that's essentially one of the number one things that you have to really deal with. My major initially was physical education. And when I sat in on the philosophy and foundation of education in class and started looking at aspects of what educational system was about, I had to step away. And I felt it was important for me to be able to educate and integrate and interact with kids on a one-on-one setting or smaller groups, because I feel like the impact can be larger. But what I see essentially in the school system is a group of kids and a group of people that are damaged. And the reality of it is that being in mental health in the state of North Carolina for the last 20 plus years, the reality of it is that where the government is cutting is mental health.
Mhm.
And the lack of support in mental health is really creating a larger problem within inside of our community because these parents have a lot of undiagnosed trauma.
Right.
And they've transitioned that trauma to those kids. And those kids bring it into the school system. And then there's also a lack of fathers in the home. And that's a whole different other argument and dynamic. But the larger issue, to be concise, is the lack of support for mental health treatment for these children.
Mhm. And
Because
if
some of these people are uniquely traumatized.
yeah.
Hey, Didi, jump in there.
If I piggyback off of that,
Yeah.
you know, I went to college, and you know, that's what my focus and career was. And I know how to teach, but I am not equipped to deal with, like Ron said, those mental health issues of, you know, this year I had a child start school that his dad had just died. You know, we have, you know, I have 6 kids that have IEPs, and it's a lot. You got 31 little personalities from different environments and home with the undiagnosed trauma coming all into one place. And I'm trying to teach main idea reading, right? And it's this other stuff that's happening. And it's just like, I didn't go to school to be equipped to deal with all of that. I can stay in my lane and specialize in what I'm supposed to be doing. But
Right.
we need all of these other people to help in all the other different aspects and things that happen within the classroom.
Respond to that, Bear. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, when you hearing it, just hearing it is a lot, and hearing it is a lot. Knowing that it goes on, even in this day and time, it makes it. I wouldn't say unbearable, but it makes you really feel like, do I really want to deal with this? Do I really want to go through this heartache, through this pain? What I see is, I see teachers being zapped of some people went to school to become teachers because there was a lifelong, that's what they wanted to do as a child. And now it's just being taken away from you in the sense of having to deal with all the different things you're dealing with in the classroom, from kids to what's going on home to even the parents that don't even help. So, I mean, there's a lot. I don't know if I could.
Q, you an aspiring teacher. I'm gonna get Q in here right quick, Ron. I'm gonna get back to you. Q, you're an aspiring teacher. What are some of the things they are sharing with you, and so as your journey now to kind of prevent you from getting burned out, or is it just one of the passions for you?
You have to be a teacher. You have to have a passion. There's nothing at least that I've learned yet that are going to teach you about burnout, because burnout happens you can't teach not being burnt out. That's just something you have to fight through. So a lot of teachers, they don't make it past 3 years. After that 3rd year is basically say like your first 3 years is basically your first year, because after that 3rd year is when you know, like, if you're gonna stay in there or if you're gonna back and do something else. And to say to back off what Ron said, there's a lot of the issue with mental health is a lot of people who are in charge of those decisions now, with putting money into certain departments for mental health. A lot of people who are making those laws now still believe that mental health isn't a thing, or they believe that mental health is specifically for woke agenda. And I like to say it's only on that right side, but there's a lot of people in the African community in particular, where they did not believe there's anything, they did not believe there's any mental illnesses either, even though they probably had some. The main one being post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of them probably have that, but they think, no, that's just because I had it hard growing up. And so then when their kids come to say, oh, I'm dealing with this, and it's like, nah, you don't know how hard I had it growing up. And that's a problem of not only is that PTSD, then there's parents who will gaslight their kids. So parents have PTSD, parents have that's where there's something else I'm forgetting, but they'll gaslight their kids and then they'll make the kids worse. And then there's an opposite extreme where you may think a kid has a mental disorder where maybe they're just too energetic on these certain days. So there's two far extremes to where either kids aren't getting any help or they're getting too much help to where they are on pills where they don't need. So there's two extremes, and I don't think there's ever going to be middle, at least in our lifetime.
Your thoughts on that, Ron? Oh, well, you had thoughts earlier. I mean to cut off earlier. What's your thoughts on that?
Simply put, man, this country doesn't have this country bread and butter is about division. So if you identify that you divide and you conquer, unity is not something that's purposed to be a part of the natural order. And with that divide and conquer comes a lack of connectivity. And so when you start talking about being able to divide and conquer the people, the music, television programming, all these things that are presented to us are creating an atmosphere that has America behind. I looked at something today. I'm gonna put something into the universe, and I want y'all to really think about this. This cat by the name of NASAC used to come on my page a lot of times when I would post stuff about economics and things of that nature. When I was a part of a program that I was in, and he talked about America's hegemony. It's a big word, but essentially talked about America's dominance. And I sent Hank a clip earlier today, and China has been able to broker a ceasefire, so to speak, between Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now, our dollar has been, the SWIFT dollar has been the means by which a lot of our country's dominance has been able to expand around the world. We have a less educated workforce.
Yes.
That is ill-equipped. We don't build anything anymore. So what's going to happen when we become the receivers and we have to borrow? Think about this. Look up that word hegemony. Check it out. Because what's getting ready to happen is America is going to be the tail and not the head. And a lot of what we're paying for right now is going to skyrocket and go through the roof. And so we're paying for this divisive agenda that is in our school systems and in our communities. We get ready to pay right now. And the inability for us to talk peace, broker peace, bring about unity is at the core of a lot of things that's happening in our school system and in our communities.
Peter, do you think our school system is preparing our kids for the next level?
Absolutely not. And I'm scared. I hate to say it. If the future looks like what I see every day, it's not good. And I know people often, we say COVID, it happened, we're still dealing with it, but our Black children have been behind before COVID. It just created a bigger, gap and a bigger space. But we've always been behind. And there has to be we have to rethink education. We're going to have to reinvent it and come up with different ways. And I feel like parents, instead of them being the enemy, which I sometimes often feel like I could name a few right now. You know, it's like, again, like Ron said, we're going to have to reunite, even for education as a whole, but even as our culture and as for our Black children. Teachers are not the enemy. Like, you know, I applaud parents who are, yes, you are your child's first advocate, but this is my profession and this is my craft. I mean, I'm good at what I do. It's like, you don't go questioning the plumber when he come out and tell you, you know, hey, you know, this is what's wrong with da 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 da. It's like, but it's the combativeness, the divisiveness that we have within.
It's interesting you say that, Miss Didi. I'm gonna tell you, I went through that recently with one of my children. And man, it's his first time having a male teacher. So he's adjusting as a male because he loves female energy, but he don't like male energy because we hold him accountable.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right? And so the teacher's holding them accountable, right?
Yeah.
And so
brings out a different person out of.
Right. But see, the thing with the teacher is he thinks that I'm in the bag for my son. But I just want we can we got you. I just want a clear explanation, and then also to be able to engage with you so we can talk about ways to make sure that he's accountable.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm not opposed to you. I want you to do your thing. Do your thing, because I know what you're doing. I can see it. He can't see it, but I can see it.
Right. But you know what? I applaud you for that, because I feel like our kids in today's time, there's no accountability. And when, you know, you read all of these articles, we just had in Newport News, a 6-year-old who shot his teacher. I'm not sure if y'all saw that. I mean, that was national. And within that report, you know, they said that the teacher had mentioned it 3 times, like she had told administrators. So this child had obviously been an issue, and, you know, there was nothing done. And because the administration aren't supportive. So a lot of times, like right now, what we do in our building is we support each other, because we're like, what's the point in us taking them up there? They ain't gonna do nothing but keep them for 5 minutes and send them back. So, hey, I got a partner where I'm like, go in such and such's room and you just whatever, because again, that support is not there and there's no accountability. There's nothing being done to children. Like, you know, people used to get suspended. No, because they don't want the state to be looking at their numbers, henceforth probably taking away some money. And so they don't document it. They won't document it. And so it's like, okay, my hands are tied. What am I going to do with this disruptive child who's preventing me from doing my job, preventing other children from learning? And we're stuck. So, and we underpaid. So it's like, you know what? Let me go pass out stickers at Walmart because it's too stressful.
Come on.
It's too much. I'm telling you, it's too much.
I'm gonna tell you something, though.
I got Dad, you are muted because I hear you from downstairs, but yeah, there's something wrong with your mic right now. But what I did want to say is that I do have a take as far as specifically education. Well, not even just education. How the world is run in the first place. At a certain point, there needs to be a cutoff age where if you're in charge of something after a certain age, you need to get out the way. Because as someone you said earlier, we need to reevaluate the whole education system. Which is a good idea, except the people who are going to reevaluate the education system doesn't know how kids basically adults above the age maybe 50, 60 won't know what a 4th or 3rd grade is going through.
Right.
So they won't know how to teach and they won't know how to teach an elementary school child. They won't know how to teach a middle school child. They may be able to teach a high school child, and that's a big if, depending on how the adult themselves grew up. And that doesn't stop at education. That continues on through politics. I think there is 6, 7 people who have a vote in office who are above the age of 80.
Mm-hmm.
What 80-year-old knows what someone my age, and I'm 25, what 80-year-old knows what a 25-year-old is going to go through? Let alone a child who is going through COVID, one, but still going through who they are as a person. They got kids who are not even fully potty trained yet in classes, and you have adults who are also at reaching a point where they're not potty trained either at 80, 90. I think the oldest is like 90s. No, oldest is in their 90s. They turn 90 they turn mid 90s this year. At some point, the older generation needs to get out the way. If you're too old to work at a Walmart, why are you making rules for 10-year-olds? Or why are you saying, hey, I think this is what a 10-year-old needs to learn so he can move on in society? There's a lot of stuff in math. I just say math because I'm good at math. There's a lot of stuff in math that kids will never need. English, yeah, they'll probably need English as they keep going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Teach them another language at a younger age, because that's when it's easiest to learn language at a younger age. Not wait until they're high school to teach them Spanish. I've taken multiple different Spanish classes. I can't give you a full sentence in Spanish. If I learned that maybe 5, 6, 7 instead of learning what a fraction is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do know, I can say this. We lived in Hawaii for a couple of years. In Hawaii, I taught kindergarten, and in kindergarten, they learned Hawaiian and they learned Japanese. So that was a great thing of them getting started early with those languages.
Yeah, they say like kids over in the Asian countries, China, Japan, they first off, they learn English. Because a lot of them will be able to have a conversation with you in English because they tourists go over there.
Right.
Over here, you'll have over here parents say, you need to speak American over here.
You know, the issue is, I'm gonna tell y'all something, just very point blank. There are certain people that are sitting in these offices and they're making thought processes, and there's a big difference between theory and application.
Mm-hmm.
And I consistently see that when you start talking about the mental health services. A lot of these people, if you ain't touched down and you ain't been in somebody's home or interacted with people for a while, you don't know what it feels like to interact with people and do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be a mandate that these people do field tests or be in certain settings to really test their knowledge or reinvest, CEUs, something to assert that they are educating these kids in a proper fashion. And this is no disrespect to the profession, but the reality of it is there's always people that have these degrees. We give, and that's the one that I can't, like, that's the one thing I can't stand about North Carolina. They give so much credence to degrees, but no application and no skill sets to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just getting to the place right now where they want to give people opportunities who have access and knowledge, but they don't want to pay you for the knowledge that you got.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the real core issue. You know, man, I'm worth more than what I make.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And I'm starting to really look at like branching out. And man, it's gonna be other things that I'm gonna have to do. Public speaking, whatever it
No,
may
exactly.
be.
Your mic's still off.
Right.
So the manifestation of those things to really support, you know, what my family looks like is a key thing. But it's a shame, man. It's always a barrier between theory and application. And a lot of these people get these doctorates, they're eggheads, they sit in these offices, and they have little to no interaction with these kids and have no understanding of what's what the reality of facing these people on the ground. And that makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
No. Hey, can Barry, do you have anything to add in? Because we haven't gotten back to you in a minute.
No, I'm learning.
I'm trying to get back in the game. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, sir.
I do apologize, guys. Hey, guys, I do. Hey, go ahead, Quentin.
Well, I was gonna say, Ron, I saw a video on TikTok about a month ago. It was someone who's running for office about my age in Chicago. He
Oh
was
yeah,
talking.
that brother, yeah, he's sharp dude, young dude. Yeah, I know
He
you
was
saw.
talking to someone who was a governor in like a whole other county. And he said, "What do you know that's going on in cities in Chicago?" He said, the dude said, "I have ears in Chicago." Like, no, have you been there? When was the last time you were in Chicago? Because he said, because he's in Chicago. So he's never seen that other politician in Chicago. So that's what's going on. So a lot of politicians will say, "Oh yeah, I got people in the streets people in the country telling you what's going on." No, what you have is a bunch of yes men telling you what you want to hear because you pay them enough money to where they don't want that money to stop flowing into their bank account.
So, guys, this is my idea. This is my agenda. I think, well, first of all, before we get to that agenda, I'm gonna go back to these stats. Again, there are approximately 300,000 teacher positions available. There's only 100,000 teachers that's available coming out this pipeline. If all our HBC is, hey guys, I did this stat. I looked up this stat. It says 29% of people is actually working in the field that they got their degree in. If all our HBCUs say, you know what, guys, I may be an English major, history major, psychology major. Let me go ahead and get this teacher certification, and we can flood this teacher. We can flood this area of teaching to actually affect our young kids. You think that'll work, Didi? You think that'll be a good
I can tell you that right now. I can tell you that right now because I'm at HBCU. No, it won't work. A lot of those kids don't even go to classes on a daily basis.
Well,
yeah, I mean, and around here, I feel like we've heard more about universities kind of getting rid of the education department because no one, the numbers aren't there, kind of like they used to be. And again, we're talking about living wage. I mean, I'm married and I just could, and when I look at like some of the younger teachers or single teachers, I'm like, how you living? Like, it's just, so many of us have weekend jobs, have second jobs to be able, and like I'm in the DMV, Ron, if you are, it's extreme up here. It's like, it's just, it's sad. And again, I got a master's degree and I did all of that thinking like, okay, I'm a, kind of upscale my money here, but there's no climbing up the ladder. And as soon as you take one step, they're going to beat you down. It's just, I don't know. I hate to say this stuff in front of Quentin because I'm not really happy in my profession anymore because I used to be there for me, Quentin. But it has just changed so much. It has changed so much.
Can I fact check myself real quick? Like what I said earlier about people in Congress being 90. The three oldest people in Congress right now, Grace Napoleon in California, 86. Eleanor, somebody, DC, 85. Both of them are Democrats. And then Harold Rogers in Kentucky's 84. Wow. So no one 90, however, 85 and 86 thinking they know what someone my age, right. Even someone y'all age would want. There will be some of y'all grandparents. And right. I'm the way youngest person here. What do they know about what I
say? Way youngest person.
He's our firecracker. He's what keeps us on the young end. But we gotta find a way. And I was talking to my mom about that. My mom said, "Well, hey, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?" I said, "We need to get our kids from daycare. We need to get our sororities, fraternities, Masonic organization, churches, every Black organization that has some impact. Merge our money together and start getting our kids from daycare and teaching our kids from daycare to elementary to middle to high school and even at the HBCU level. because what's really happening is all the chaos. The only group of people that's being left behind is our Black and Hispanic kids.
Yeah.
I like especially Hispanic kids. And now, because there's a lot more Black kids, so at least they're able to see each other. There's Hispanic kids who may not even, English is maybe their second language. So they're already well behind that front. And then they're trying to learn everything in American. As long as then they go home, and it's a completely different culture at home that they gotta learn too. Because you don't want them to not learn about their roots either.
You brought up a good point, Didi. How did that work with the kids that don't speak English? How far behind did they get left in the in the South?
I mean, I agree with Quentin. I mean, it's the same. I have someone right now. I mean, she's just lost. I mean, school is just a place that her parents, I drop her off so they can go to work, because I feel like, and we haven't done the paperwork for this, there's something deeper, right? She does have some learning disabilities, and that's always a process, right? We got to take this test, it's got to go through 30 days and to get the help that they need. But again, we call them ESOL, because that English is a second language. And it's a barrier because they're trying, are you hearing and comprehending the words that I'm teaching, right? And having that time to have to process that. So the gap has also widened for a lot of the Hispanic children also.
One schools up there.
Can I say something? In the county, in Mo County, it's a worse situation. That's not proper English, but it's because a lot of it's a worse situation.
That's right.
In Montgomery County, man, they have a lot of Hispanic students that go to that county because of the school system, and they are present in that community, and it is a large concern. And I have been in classes here at the school that I was at last year. They had a strong Hispanic population. It was pretty cool, actually, watching it from a cultural perspective, because they do click together, they do unite, they do have a sense of belonging and a level of consistency in the approach that they deal with things. So it's a beautiful thing to see how they manifest their culture.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. We typically. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What I was going to say, because and I think a lot of times we on their culture. I think a lot of times we can take a page out of the playbook of community inclusion. I think if we can take anything out of as parents out of the playbook of most of those immigrants or Hispanics is the family of inclusion, and we're gonna work together. They may not speak English, but they're gonna show up. They may not know what they talking about.
That's very you may get two parents don't speak English, but their child does. They'll translate it that way.
Right.
And then you get little Sabrina, who her dad won't show up. Mother is late.
Yeah.
Right.
Every day.
I'm gonna tell y'all the issue.
Okay,
but the issue,
ahead,
I want y'all to think about this. The issue still is connectivity. And when you start talking about investment, man, I'm gonna say this to y'all, and I ain't just talking about like I'm gonna say this about our community. Somewhere along the way, we felt like we'd made it.
Did that make us lazy?
Some
yes. So because what it does is it makes you feel like, consequently, if you have a few more dollars in your pocket or a little bit more upward mobility, or you can put a designer on your back, you identify that you have what you would consider to be the finer things in life. But the finer things come from access. How do you generally get access? Either through entrepreneurship or education. Think about what I'm saying now. One
So,
or
but
two
so
things.
the one. So what are you saying? So are you saying the ones who made it have just left the other ones behind?
Some of us have been left behind, but in all true honesty, a lot of us consistently believe that we have essentially overcome, and we've not.
Mm-hmm.
I can give a different
And
answer.
so if we consequently believe that we're not in the same space that we were in 40, 50 years ago,
Okay, right. I agree with that.
what essentially would happen to you is that you will be rocked to sleep.
Mm-hmm. But don't you feel like that y'all not see that happening when you hear about all the stuff that has happened in Florida? It's like,
Yes.
oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's DeSantos is, but no, DeSantos, what's happening in Mississippi.
Right.
You don't have to look too far from what is being the agenda, and even the agenda that is happening in the state houses, because we don't vote in local elections.
Right.
We want to be like Obama comes up and he runs for office, and everybody comes out and votes. Nobody voted in the local elections.
Remember the local elections.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Quentin.
What I would say is, with people who are making it and not coming back, there's two types of people. There's someone who will make it and they won't come back, or there's someone who will make it and they will try and get back. Now, the people who make it don't come back, we shut them because they don't forgot who was helping them when they were at a young age. But people who do come back, they come back, they try and give, and they either get killed, or the people who just they say nah, because there's people who are basically jealous or hating, like, nah, you made it all the way up there, we don't need your help down here anymore. So there's people down here who, yeah, they don't even think they made it, they just think there's nothing left. And then when someone of their own skin tone tries to give them something, they say, nah, don't you give me that money, don't you pity me. Some people will take that as pity, and then if someone does take it, they'll say, oh, now you're taking that sellout's money too. It's a terrible cycle.
Ben, I'm gonna get you in here a little bit. What do you I mean, and you are true, Quinn. Here's a terrible cycle. A lot of times we don't reach back and we think we made it to the top of the rim. But I mean, but I'm gonna go with you. What's the responsibility? I know we hearing all the negative. What's the main responsibility of the parents? Because I know I know most everybody on this panel don't raise their children, and they have raised your children. Quinn don't have any yet, and take your time, so you'll need none. But what's your word to parents? I seen you raise yours and be actually hands on. What's the key to parents in this role? What's the key?
I guess I got a question for that. A lot of things I did raising my kids, I just went back to the way I was raised. And my question to that is, what was, and I'm talking to those my age, what, I'm 50, I'll be 52, say 35 to 52. What was wrong with the way we were raised? What was wrong with,
right?
For some of us, it got us to where we are today. I'm not saying everybody was raised this correct way, but those of us that was raised right, knowing right from wrong, discipline, huge on discipline. What was wrong with that? I'm finding, my passion is kids, and my nonprofit is set up for kids. And I just faced a situation. I was talking to a mom, and she's having trouble out of her adult son, who's basically, he'll be 22 in May. And, he basically don't want to work. He don't want to work hard. He just want to work minimum amount, just a minimal job. He don't want to put the wear and tear on his body. That is his words. And, just talking to her, and, and she's saying, hey, I'm at the end. Well, but when you give it up, when you
hard, FedEx is hard.
But see, that's
don't do it.
Much wear and tear on his body. That's not what he wanted to do. My point is, talking to her, I was like, well, just listening to you, you're at the place where it's like either you're going to produce or you got to move on.
Yeah.
And then when you say that to her, her thing is, well, where is he gonna go? So either you're gonna protect him or you want him to become a man. And we run into that, you know, there's a lot of parents out there now in this day and time that rather protect their kid than hold them accountable.
Well, you can't wait to 10 to 12 years old and try to discipline your kid.
Right.
It's
Oh,
a little late then, now, buddy.
And I agree. Now, you know, and I say this on a weekly basis with the sports thing. Y'all know I'm old fashioned, or whatever you want to say. Now, I'm sitting here listening to all the great points, and I'm just stuck in one place. You know, I've always felt for a number of years there's one thing that we have to do here in America. And there's one thing that we really need to do and look at. And the first thing is we have to, at all costs, put prayer back in school. I've always been there. And because I just feel like once that was taken, way back with Reagan, you took a covering off. You took a covering off of safe haven. You took a covering off of, you know, school was a place to go and be safe, a place you can go and tell and get things done. Kids, meaning kids. Now it's just like it's open arms and whatnot. How many shootings did you hear of back in the day? Guns being brought to schools, teachers being treated the way they were treated, and whatnot. And I'm not just saying, you know, that's just. I guess people say that's the religious side of me, but that's a part of it. That's part of it. Then parents got to hold themselves accountable, and then they got to discipline their kids and open up their mindset to allow their kids to be disciplined and whatnot, and hold them accountable and whatnot. Everything is not a fight.
Right. And I know like you said, that's kind of how we were raised, that religious piece, but this just happened a couple weeks ago. There was a teacher, you know, just going through, we just be going through, and then this just very difficult parent. And we were in the copy room, and she was kind of talking about what had happened, and she started crying, like just busted out. And it was me, her, and it was our school counselor who was in there. And the school counselor said, you know, she said, you know, I'm gonna pray for you. You know, I'm gonna pray for you. And we kind of just kept talking. And something was like, you need to do it right now. Like, you need to do it. And I'm not even that, y'all get together, you know, but it was so heavy on me, you know, and we were about to walk away. And I was like, y'all, like, the spirit is telling me. I said, I'm trying to be obedient. And we literally stood in the copy room and we prayed. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I really needed that, and da da da. And I know that we probably will never get back to praying in schools, but I work in PG County. It's a lot of African Americans where I am, and with our conversations, there are believers, and we've had this conversation, but yet to actually apply it, that we got to do it. Mm-hmm. If we got to get to work 10 minutes earlier to meet somewhere, it's our responsibilities according to what our beliefs are. Like, I pray in the morning for my kids before they come in. No, they don't know. It might be a little, some old, right? Because it's a spiritual battle. It is a spiritual battle. But I do believe that in that way, the adults can come together and fight against all the stuff that we have to deal with. Because remember, you know, we're people too. You know, I got all of these attacks from kids, and their mamas can be like 10 times worse. But I mean, I'm dealing with my own children in my own house. So it's a lot to take, but prayer is definitely essential in that equation.
Respond to that, Ron.
I'll just put it in the context like this, man. She's right. I mean, if you know, you have to pray and seek guidance, man. Every day when I go out of my house, especially when I know I'm going to a family's house or I'm going to do something run through the work, I try to pray. I have my mind in the right mind frame. But I'm gonna say something. You know, I think one of the things that's not happening is I don't think those stories are being relayed to these people at the district. And what I mean by relayed, like what you just said about that story, not necessarily the prayer, but the stress that young lady was under.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then and there's an aspect of things that are happening that you said that's really deep, really kind of affects me. But it's beautiful though, so don't get it twisted. When the system doesn't work for us, we generally invent ways to make things work for ourselves.
Mm.
Right?
That's the point I was getting ready to go to, too. But you
they're actually doing it. They've established their own infrastructure within inside the school and essentially created sales for themselves. And so essentially what they're doing is, short circuiting the BS apparatus.
Right.
And it shouldn't have to be that way. It's just like, when we start thinking about aspects of how gangs got started, you know why gangs got started in our communities? To essentially protect us from white police officers or white kids that would attack us.
Right.
And then we started attacking each other.
The couple of things I think to pick up what you're saying, Ron, and you said it earlier, Dee, we got to take more control of what we're doing as a community, I think. And that started not from the home all the way up. One thing I did growing up, and Quentin to tell you, I believe in the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If there's a problem in the school, you're going to see me. You're going to see me at the school. You're going to see me at the parent-teacher conference. Mm-hmm. You're going to see me at the PTA meeting. You're going to see me everywhere, anytime that school open, that we have something going on, that my kids involved, you're going to see me. And you're going to know me. And I'm going to talk to the teacher. And I'm going to talk to the principal. And the reason why, because now when something happened to Quentin, they're not going to just sweep it up under the rug. They're not going to sweep it, cover it up. Truth be told, that's probably half of the mass shooting. I'm gonna say it. We over the top. We're gonna call it when we see it. If the school system did what they were supposed to do with these little kids, the little kid in Virginia brought the gun to school 2 to 3 times before he shot the teacher. If Quinn would have brought a gun to school, he'd be expelled, won't be able to go back to school.
Right.
First of all, I would like to point out, if I wouldn't even know to bring a gun to the school. Right. If there was a gun in the house, I wouldn't even know there was. I didn't even know if we had a gun in the house.
Right.
So that kind of.
But I think that's the difference. That's the beauty of your parenting, though. That's the beauty of your parenting, man. Your parents didn't expose you.
Right.
So that kind of brings up a conversation for another day about gun control, because I bet you if that kid's parents kept it away from him, because there's no way he knew where the bullets were. I think he knew where the bullets, the mag, and the gun. He brought them on separate occasions. That means he knew where it was at, where to put them back at, and how to take these certain things on each time.
They
you know how to unload it, reload it, target and shoot it.
They called it educating. They called it making him aware of
how to protect himself or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you, last week there is there's a kindergartner at my school, and he told the teacher that he was going to bring some a gun with some ammunition, and he was going to shoot her. Like,
and is he still in school?
Yes.
See, that's the problem. See, that's the problem. Where at this point we need a parent-teacher conference, huh?
And there's that way. When you were a younger adult when I was growing up, so you would have nipped that right then. There are older adults in charge of that school now who are more worried about money coming into school than a teacher making it to work the next day.
Right.
You hit it around here. That's what again, and I hate beating in the head. I remember growing up, the church down street from my aunt's house. That I stayed at my aunt's house, Cedar Grove. They had a daycare center. How many churches black churches have daycare centers?
Right.
How many black churches
That's
have
true.
schools?
That's true. Now listen, I'm gonna tell you what we decided here. I've been toiling with this decision, and it was just confirmed 2 weeks ago. So I got a large, y'all know I got a large span of children, right? My 4-year-old is getting ready to go to kindergarten. I'm like, oh man, I'm getting ready to save some money. Yes, he gonna go to kindergarten. But I just told you about a kindergartner right at my school, and I'm like, okay, am I gonna expose my child to all the stuff that I see every day, right? And I'm gonna try to make this quick. The other day we were in the car and I was listening to the Erica Campbell show, and it had to be a Thursday. They do the Bible stories and they turn it around and make it modern day. So she was telling a story about the prodigal son. And it was like, yeah, he wanted all of his money from his daddy, and he asked his daddy, give me my stuff. And then we had to get out of the car. So my 4-year-old said, yeah, mommy, and then when his daddy gave him all of his stuff, he started partying and he started hanging out with his friends. And then he wanted to go back home because he was out of money. I'm telling you, my 4-year-old finished the prodigal son story, right?
Wow.
And it was like God was telling me, no, keep your child, because my 2 that's left here go to a Baptist Christian school, right? And it was like, keep your child there, stop being selfish and thinking about the dollar sign.
Saving money.
Keep your child there. And again, I feel, it's smaller, it's a Christian school, and I feel safer. And so that was for me confirmation that I needed to keep him, where he was. So you talked about churches and the people, community coming together.
Right.
Here's an example.
That's what's needed, and we're gonna wrap it up here. But that's what did with Quinn. Went to Hillcrest High. Hillcrest, we graduated Hillcrest.
Yes.
Well, we did. We got a model in DC and everybody else. But the class size was too big for Quinn. It was just too big, too much stuff going, too chaos. Then we took him out, and put him in Legacy. Legacy is an early college high school.
I've heard about
Smaller, one of our classmates, LaShera Smith, was the principal. Now she's the director. She doing her thing. That was my wife teaching. All shout outs to Deidre and Raven and everybody else. Yes. But anyway, the point I'm making is we got, and not just teaching, and I've done this podcast journey since November. And what I realized is our people, we gotta stop depending on the same systems that oppress us and whip us to educate us.
Right.
We got to stop depending on the same system that oppress us and whip us to supply our finances. And it's not going to work. If we don't do it ourselves, guys, it's not going to be done. But we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go round robin. Ron, your last words, sir. Ron, your last words, sir.
I'm here, man. My daggone screen kind of act funny sometimes, but just real quick, man. I mean, I feel like it's a good podcast, man. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, Miss Didi. I think it was some good ideas and thoughts shared. Hopefully, we can get some things moving in our communities.
Quinn, your last word.
I'll say, just like Miss Didi said, with modernizing the religious teaching. If you want to advance, you have to, as a coach, we have to modernize our teaching. And Bear said earlier, what was wrong with how y'all raised when y'all raised. At the time, there was nothing wrong. But as time moves forward, teaching needs to change. That goes for education. That goes for morality. That goes for learning what your culture is. As time moves forward, teaching needs to move forward. If you're still teaching if you're teaching only what you know and not what their children should know, then endless cycle until you catch up with the time. Or even plan ahead of the time and then your children or students will prosper.
Bear, your last word.
I think, well, first of all, I did not know it was 22 years. Wow. Good job. Great job. Keep going. Keep pushing. I know it seems hard. My thing is, you know, a lot of the problems can be accomplished and done. It takes us once again coming together as a whole, something that we have to accomplish at some point. We got to come together at some point. I mean, it's too noticeable. Everybody see it. And besides that, I'm a strong believer just in the word never changes, it stays the same. I believe strong discipline leading you in the right direction never changes. It never changes. And that's where I'm at. Now, I'm a disciplined person. I'm a person on let's do it right the first time. We won't have to keep correcting it and whatnot. And so I wish all educators the best. You know, my kid's mom, she's actually a principal, and I just talked to her this past year, and her thing was she was talking about going back to the classroom, and I was blown away. I'm like, huh? And she was like, it was a bunch of stuff in between that, but you know, part of it was money, and then it was a hesitancy. She was hesitant because of the behavior in the classroom. So it's a lot of things being played in the educational system. But and I'm gonna say this and wrap it up. The ones of us of color that's there, yeah, we got to find a way because it's important. It's important that you all are there and whatnot at this point. And it does suck, the money part, all that sucks. But hey, I appreciate what you do.
Hey guys, teachers are very important. Teachers are very important. Show up, show up, show up. Dee Dee, thank you, sweetie. Thank you for bringing us, for showing us. Thank you for coming on the show. If you want to come on the show and chop it with us anytime, you are definitely welcome. And what we're gonna do, like we do it over the top podcast. You got the last word.
Okay. I agree with Quentin said, what Barry was saying, like character traits have got to stay there, Quentin, as the foundation. How we present that information and to engage them modern day, that's what we can think about. But those character traits are a lot of things that our kids are missing nowadays. So those things did work for us. I love teaching. I really do. I feel like I shared before, it's become so much other things in between there that I really don't feel like I get to do it as much, but I have always loved helping kids and that being a part of my ministry of reaching out in my small little way. So thank you guys for having me. Nice to meet you, Ron. I was nervous at first, but you know, we kind of got into the conversation and I calmed down. So thank you guys.
Stay on with us, Dee Dee. When we leave, we wrap up. Stay on. Do not get off yet. Stay
right
on, okay? Hey guys, what a great show, man. Hey, we will continue the conversation about how we can better assist our students and better assist our teachers. As always, you can reach us on Over the Top Podcast Facebook page where we have all our resources. We'll be on the YouTube soon. And guys, hey, may your next move be the game changer. Good night.